Yeah, simply ball dropping. What's up, family? K-Sap, we up! Ain't no stopping. I'm simply ball dropping like it's New Year's Eve, making you haters believe I'm the MVP. Ask Mr. V and R&B, they do all sports, whether it's on the field or the court, from the arena to the ring. What? You wanna swing? I rope a dope like the one on this boxing theme. That's a punchline. I'm the greatest of all times. Got something on your mind? Hit us up on the line for that round table talk. Ask B Hunt and Sheena and K-Sap too for their views on our dudes. Marriage Chronicles for you lovers. Oh, I'm married to the game. The championships, the only time I wanna ring. K-Sap, the man behind the mic. Check 1, 2. It ain't a rap until I say it's a rap. Just fall through, pull up the hottest pod smoking. Yeah, I got you open. This freestyle brought to you by James Ford. Paid promotion. Yeah, simply ball dropping. You know what time it is. Pull up, chop it up with your family, man. K-Sap, what up?
And now, your host of the Simply Ball Droppin' Podcast, the man behind the mic, K-Sap.
This episode is sponsored by True Choice Insurance. Here at True Choice, we take a different philosophy when it comes to providing you with your insurance options. We emphasize the value of the products we offer, instead of playing on the fear of you not being protected in your time of need. True Choice is affiliated with more than 60 insurance companies. This makes us one of the most independent agencies in the state of Texas. Please visit TrueChoiceInsurance.com for all your insurance needs.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome in. Welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. In today's episode, man, we're going to talk a little bit about this boxing, man, what's going on in the boxing world. And once again, like I always say, we just don't cover sports. We cover it all. We cover hot topics. We cover the marriage chronicles. We got a round table talk, relationships, and like I said, the end all be all with couples that are reaching that goal to get married. So like I said, we have our round table talk edition on Friday nights. We have our marriage chronicles on Saturday nights, and we do our sports every night. So stay tuned. Appreciate everybody that's rocking with me, and thanks for coming in the stream. And once again, we got another banger. But I'm gonna tip it off and say, man, we just came off of a weekend where we watched Gervonta Tank Davis take on Hector Garcia. Tank Davis coming off of a training camp and, weeks leading up to the fight, gets himself in trouble. A domestic violence, dispute, was arrested down in Florida. And a lot of people got a lot of things to say about that. Timothy Bradley let loose. And me personally, with Timmy Bradley, I mean, he was a good boxer. He wasn't a great boxer. I mean, he did a lot of good things out there, but Timothy Bradley, his commentary and things like what he says about certain boxers, he has a lot of hate in him toward a lot of fighters. And I don't understand the reason behind that. Sometimes he calls it fair, but sometimes you can hear the hate in his voice when he talks about certain boxers. So it was a recent clip that Timothy Bradley interviewed Timothy Bradley after the Garcia fight, which Tank Davis got the late round stoppage. In the 8th round, he hit Hector Garcia with some combinations that later on in Hector Garcia's post-fight press conference, he stated that, he got hit so hard that he didn't know where he was at. He couldn't see. And that happened in the 8th round. But he didn't answer the bell coming out for the 9th, so they stopped it. And, to me, Tank is one of them type of fighters that processes a lot of data, and then he moves forward and he goes in for the kill shot. He didn't land the big shot that put Garcia away. Garcia's a tough, rugged opponent. He was undefeated. He was coming off of a great victory himself. I mean, he wasn't no pushover. And like Tank Davis said, fights like this, he wanted to stay busy leading up to what we think is going to be a huge fight between him and Ryan Garcia. But before we get off into that, the statements that Timothy Bradley said about Gervonta Davis about his legal issues, he called him a piece of shit. There were some things that happened with this domestic dispute down in Florida, which happened just before the fight started. They didn't know if the fight was going to be on or if the fight was going to be off. But, he got arrested, bailed himself out. Some female allegedly said that Tank put his hands on her, which we don't know what happened. We don't know what the charges were. We don't know what happened because we wasn't there. But on speculation, when things happen like that and people start just giving their opinion about things, not knowing what happened, it's hard. But I don't justify no man putting their hands on a female. That's not a void. That shouldn't happen. But in this Tank situation, we don't know what happened because there's stories out that, she backed down on her statements and things like that. So we don't know what happened. But for Timothy Bradley, just to come out and call him a piece of shit and he's no good of a man. And Timothy Bradley said when he was growing up, his father said, any man that put his hands on a woman deep down is a coward, which rightfully so is. Any man that puts their hands on a female is a coward. I believe that. But for Timothy Bradley in his profession to come out and say some harsh words like that toward a young guy that's, almost like the face of boxing now, like he's the cash cow, he's the pay-per-view guy, he's the one that's selling out these arenas. He's the one that's putting butts in these seats and everybody wants to see the big fights. But Timothy Bradley, I think you need to stand down on some of the things that you said without knowing the particulars and what happened. I mean, you going off of what you read on social media, the outlets, the beat writers, and things like that. So without knowing the facts and without knowing the truth of what happened, we don't know if he put his hands on that female. Because like Tank Davis said, a guy of his magnitude making money, it's always people out there, not just females, that are trying to extort these athletes that have money. So for her to double down on her comments that she said in the police report, it makes you kind of wonder. So like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know the situation. I'm not just going to judge a man off of accusations, speculations, without knowing the truth. Rightfully so, I don't condone no man putting their hand on a female. And if he did do that and it comes out as that what happened, then we'll talk about something different. And he has to face the consequences that come thrown his way. And then all the backlash can come. But for the backlash to start without knowing the particulars, and for what Timothy Bradley said, I find that kind of harsh. But don't get me wrong. I don't condone nothing that a man does to a woman by putting her hands on her, beating up a woman, because Tank is a professional boxer. Now, that female was no threat to Tank. So I find it hard to believe that Tank would just randomly put his hands on her and carry things away. It's allegedly exposing him that he did. But from what Tank said, his statement was an aggressive grab. We got to decipher that, an aggressive grab. I know there's men out there that are not professionals and don't have the money that Tank has in their relationships. A shove or something like that, or pull on the shirt tail or a collar or something like that, can we decipher that as an aggressive grab or a push or a shove to get you out the way? It's a fine line, man. It's a thin line between what comes out in the media. And with these athletes, a lot of things come out. And it's unfortunate that that situation happened and he got to, fight these legal issues. Now, moving forward, everybody wants to see the big fight. Everybody wants to see these fighters fighting each other. Everybody wants to see the next step for Tank Davis. They want to see Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. But like I told people, in the sport of boxing, we got to get away from saying that these fighters are ducking one another. I don't think no fighter is ducking no other fighter. I don't think fighters are saying to myself, I don't want to fight that person if he's a top dog. I find that hard to believe. A lot of us, we don't know the business of boxing. A lot of fans out there looking in, wanting these big fights, but they don't know the ins and outs of the negotiations and what's going on in the back room. Because now there's stuff out there, there's reports out there that fight might not happen. The Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis fight might not happen. And Tank Davis said it in his post-fight conference when he beat Garcia last weekend. He said that Ryan Garcia said the date would be April 15th. But now, Oscar De La Hoya, on his verified Twitter account, put out there, the deadline is Monday. I don't have a contract. And see, what you guys don't understand is De La Hoya is representing the Zone Network. De La Hoya is Golden Boy. He's representing Ryan Garcia, but he doesn't have a contract. I don't think what it is, what I think it is, these fighters want to fight, but I don't think their handlers really want to fight. I really don't think that Garcia's people want that fight. I think Garcia wants to fight, but I don't think his handlers want that fight, because Oscar's putting out there on his verified Twitter account that the deadline is Monday. He don't have no contract. So for people to say that a lot of fighters are ducking one another, I find that far-fetched. And we'll take it back a step. Everybody wanted to see the Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford fight. The negotiations was going on, but you guys got to understand something. Errol Spence is a pay-per-view star. Bud Crawford ain't at that magnitude yet. But Bud Crawford was on the other side of the street, like Errol Spence was always saying. Bud Crawford was with Top Rank, Bob Arum, ESPN. And if you guys really look at it, Bob Arum was never really pushing for Terrence Bud Crawford to be that next star. His project was Lomachenko. You guys got to realize that. Bob Arum's prospect was Lomachenko. He was pushing Lomachenko to get all these fights. Lomachenko got like 16, 17 professional fights, man. And he was getting world title fights when he was 7-8-0. He was getting world title shots. Bud Crawford wasn't getting that same respect with Bob Arum. He wasn't pushing Bob Arum to, make these fights. I think Bud Crawford wants to fight, but like I said in my previous soliloquy, that these handlers don't want to fight. Yeah, the fighters might want to fight, but there's negotiations that go on in the back that show that I don't think his people want to fight, because the negotiations going into that fight, when they was negotiating, me personally, I think it was a 60-40 fight. Errol Spence getting 60%, Bud Crawford getting 40%. I don't know how the negotiations broke down. There was some reports where 60-40, but Bud didn't want to come to Texas to fight Earl because Earl wanted to fight at the Cowboy Stadium because he could sell it out. And I think the negotiations broke down. Then I think it was 50-50. If it was a 50-50 fight, Earl still wanted to fight in Texas. I don't think Bud wanted to come to Texas to fight. Then they pushed it back up to 60-40. And Earl Spence said, if it's 60-40, I'll fight anywhere you want to fight. We'll fight in Vegas. Things broke down. And then all of a sudden, I was telling people that I don't think that fight never going to happen, man. I don't think that fight is never going to happen. And then I look at it on the flip side, it's like Bud out of nowhere, like your negotiations broke down with Earl Spence. And then just like that, reports saying that you got a fight coming on the horizon with a guy we never heard of, David Avenesian. And that you signed a contract with BLK Prime. Now, guys, people that don't know about BLK Prime, that's another network. That's almost like the DAZN network, the Zone. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is they gave Bud Crawford made $10 million. I don't think Bud Crawford was making that kind of money before this fight he had with David Avenesian. And you see that he put David Avenesian away. And everybody thought that was a tune-up fight. But like Earl said, Earl don't take tune-up fights. Earl was one of them boxers that don't need a tune-up. When he came out of his horrific car crash, he jumped right back in the ring and fought Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is not a pushover. And Earl Spence went in there and did work. Then he had an opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao, which I thought if he would have fought Manny Pacquiao, he would have sent Manny Pacquiao out the way he was supposed to. He would have retired Manny Pacquiao in that ring. But it didn't happen that way. He had the detached retina. But coming off the detached retina, he fought Again Ugas, the guy that was his replacement that fought Manny Pacquiao, that beat Manny Pacquiao and sent him into retirement. And then the things that he did against Ugas, the way he punished him. And then, like he said, after that, y'all know who I want next. I want Terrence Bud Crawford. He told Terrence Bud Crawford that he was going to clean up that division. He had that belt, he needed to get that belt. Once he got that strap, he's told Bud Crawford, I'm coming to get your shit too. They started negotiating. Things just didn't pan out. But I don't think Earl was ducking Bud. I don't think Bud was ducking Earl. The negotiations just broke down. So now Bud Crawford had to take the next available thing for him. He got the money, rightfully so. It's about time that he got the money because everything that he was doing up under Bob Arum, it wasn't paying off. Who has Bud Crawford fought when he was with Top Rank? And like they said, all the good fighters, all the top welterweight to the middleweights, PBC Showtime. Now you see Adrian Bronner trying to make a comeback because BLK Prime giving him an opportunity, giving him some money on a 3-fight deal to get him back relevant in the sport. So he took it. I don't blame these guys. You know what I'm saying? Just like Deontay Wilder said, man, they risk their life every time they get in the ring, man. This is a combat sport and it's brutal. And the things that boxers do and have to go through and put their body through, and then for people to sit back like fans like myself and others and say, oh man, this guy's ducking this guy. This guy's ducking this guy. I find that hard to believe, man. There's a lot of top fighters out there that we want to see fight. We want to see the likes of Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. We want somebody to clean up that 135 division. But like I said, these fighters want to fight each other, but we don't know what goes into negotiations on these contracts and what money's involved, the stipulations. people trying to fight on an even playing field. We don't know that. So for us to sit here and speculate that these guys are ducking one another, I find it hard to believe, man. But with Tank Davis, the fight that he wants to fight Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia wants to fight him. But I don't think his handlers really want him to fight Tank Davis. Because like Oscar said, they don't have no contract. The deadline is Monday. They don't have no contract. All the stuff that Ryan Garcia has been saying on Twitter, Instagram, all his social medias, calling Tank out, interviews that he's saying, it'll be done in 2 rounds. And like Tank said, and I kind of believe this when Tank said this, with Ryan Garcia, these guys are getting clout off of Tank Davis's name. Getting clout off of Tank Davis's name. And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way. But hey, it is what it is. But, you know, the Lomachenko and Devin Haney fight is supposed to happen. It's supposed to be in May. We're going to see how that pans out. But I don't think Loma has took a step back. Devin Haney is going to whitewash him. And then there's another fight that everybody want to see. They want to see Shakur Stevenson fight Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson moving up from 130 to 135. Everybody wants to see that fight as well. But like I said, we don't know what goes on in these negotiations. We don't know what these contracts look like. We don't know what the stipulations look like. We don't know what the money looks like. But we know who the cash cow is. And I think that Mayweather promotion and Al Heyman and all them did a great job with bringing Gervonta Tank Davis in and getting him on the right foot. Now he's the pay-per-view. He's the cash cow. I think everything goes through Tank Davis. And like Tank Davis said, everybody's trying to get clout off his name. But Tank Davis ain't ducking no smoke. I don't think none of these guys are ducking smoke. And then the crazy thing about it is, since the Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford fight is not happening, they're trying to force a fight with Errol Spence and Keith one-time Thurman. Earl has made it abundantly clear that he does not want to fight one-time Thurman. He ain't been talking about Thurman since 2018 when he really wanted to fight Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman kept on coming up with all these excuses and then got hurt and took a year off and then trying to get back in it, knowing Earl had to put his body through everything, horrific car crash that he's coming off of, and getting back in the ring and going out there getting all the straps. Now Keith Thurman wants to run his mouth. Now Keith Thurman wants to be big and bad and wants to fight Errol Spence. Errol Spence, it was one fight. They all was on the PBC telecast. They all was up on the teleprompter. It was Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, and I think Adrian Broner. They all was sitting side by side. And when Errol Spence was trying to let Keith Thurman know, I want you, Thurman could not even look at him in his face when Errol Spence was saying, let's make it happen. But Keith Thurman was coming up with all these excuses why he did not want to fight Errol Spence. The injury happened, and then all of a sudden, Errol Spence started making his way through that division, and all of a sudden he got all the straps. Now Keith Thurman wants to run his mouth, and now he wants to fight him. But Earl made it abundantly clear, I do not want to fight Keith Thurman. He said if he has to vacate them belts and move up to 154, he would do that. And that's the same thing with Bud Crawford. If the Errol Spence and Bud Crawford fight don't go down, he wants to go to 154 and fight the undisputed champion up there in Jermell Charlo. And that would be set for some great fireworks. And like I said, these boxers ain't ducking no smoke from nobody. It's their handlers that are in the way. And it's the business side of boxing that gets in the way. A lot of guys be like, man, Bud ducking Earl ducking Bud. Nah, they not ducking each other. It's something that's breaking down in these negotiations when they're behind closed doors. Something ain't right. But these fighters want to fight each other. These fighters want to get it in the ring, and they want to settle their differences in that ring. And I hold true to that. But for people to say that these fighters are ducking each other, I find that far-fetched, man. I'm an avid boxing fan. I know my stuff about boxing. I talk a lot of boxing on my podcast, man, with my other co-host, DeJuan Hall. And we get into it. And it's like, the thing about it is, we talk about it all the time. There's big fights out there. There's faces of boxing that need to fight each other. You know, you got the likes of, like I said, Tank Davis. He's the cash cow right now at 135. You got to go through Tank. He fought Rolly Ramirez when a lot of people didn't want to give Rolly a chance because Rolly only had 13, 14 fights. But he's a big guy at 135. He hits hard, and a lot of cats don't want to give him an opportunity. And Tank gave him an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And I think with Rolly just going to that Mayweather gym and sparring and things like that, you know, Floyd and Leonard Ellaby thought it would be a good match for, you know, for Tank and Rolly to fight. And they built that up to make it seem that, oh man, this is going to be a hell of a fight. They really sold that fight. Listening to stuff that Rolly said, man, it's like to me, he's a clown. I mean, he was saying some stuff that just didn't make sense, but he was doing his job and trying to sell the fight because a lot of people said that fight should have never happened. It's like, man, why is Tank fighting this guy? But Rolly did a great job of selling the fight, making it interesting. Everybody's watching the YouTube clips. Everybody's watching the press conferences. Everybody was watching everything that Rolly was saying. And Tank Davis was just cool, calm, and collect. And all that stuff that Rolly was saying, the first time I hit him, it's going to be over. I'm knocking him out in one round. Yeah, when the fight happened, you know, Rolly was, you know, doing some things. But to me, like I tell people, Tank he's a late starter. He's just downloading data, calculating it, and then he goes in for the kill. And that's what happened with Rolly. He baited him in, hit him with that left. There you go. Good night, Irene. Start your motorcycle and get up out of here. And the thing about if that fight does happen with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, my prediction on that, I think Tank will stop him in the 8th or 9th round. You know, Ryan Garcia is a tall opponent. He's straight up and down. But the thing about Ryan does a lot of things that can get him in trouble. You know, he does have fast hands, lightning quick left hook. But Tank get inside of that, and he can expose Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia, he hasn't been hit often, but the times that he's been hit, it takes its toll on him. And the one time that he really got hit, he hit the canvas. Now, a lot of things that Ryan Garcia does, with that right hand, he drops that left, and Tank can come over the top with something. It's just the fact that Tank it's going to take a while for Tank to, you know, get in there. But that's why I said 8th or 9th round, I think Tank will stop him. Just like when he fought Mario Barrios, taller opponent. He got up in there. You know what I'm saying? Barrios, you know, that shows that Tank is a tough competitor. Tank can take a punch as well, but Tank can dish it out too. And Tank is one of them guys that if he hits you, you got to pay the price. All the tall opponents that he fought, they paid the price, man. Bigger opponents too. Tank is a small guy, but Tank knows how to get in there and get what he wants and get out. Like Tank said, man, I get in there, I do what I got to do, and I try not to get hit. Tank don't overlook no opponent that he fights. He does not, like he fought Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz is a taller opponent. He's a veteran. He's savvy. He got ring generalship. In that fight, you know, he was in there battling with Tank. Tank stood his ground. Leo Santa Cruz stood his ground. But when he got in the latter rounds, Tank started coming forward, started breaking him down, got him up against them ropes, and baited him. And one false move, caught him with the uppercut. Kirkatoka, he was out. He was gone. But, you know, it's a fine line, guys. So we got to stop saying that a lot of guys are ducking smoke, because I don't think they ducking smoke, man. And the crazy thing about it is we want to see these fights. I'm just like you guys. I want to see the fights too. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, the fights don't happen because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know what's going on in these negotiations. So you guys got to understand that, man, because it's a lot of media outlets. It's a lot of YouTubers that cover boxing. They basically say the same thing that I say. But, we got a platform that we say it on, man. And I don't think these boxers are getting exposed, because they're not, because they want to fight each other. But something in negotiations, man. What's that? The favorite saying is, if it ain't about money, it don't make sense, man. So I'm just looking at it like, man, hey, I got to give that up. I can give it a hand clap, because there's a lot of things that I'm speaking is the true serum. And a lot of cats don't want to hear that. But like I said, going back to when I started off the show, I don't like the fact that Timothy Bradley dogged out Tank Davis the way he did. And then he ended the interview saying, I want Ryan Garcia to knock his ass out, put him to sleep, put that worthless piece of shit to sleep. You can say what you want to say, Timothy Bradley. Like I said, Timothy Bradley got a lot of hate towards a lot of boxers, and I don't know where that came from. It's like some of his stuff that he be commentating, and Andre Ward got to tell him sometimes, man. Some of your opinions is off, but he speaks a lot of truth, man. But like I said, to bash Tank Davis the way he did, not knowing the particulars and not knowing the facts, I just find that disgenerous to Tank. There's a lot of people out there that feel that they going against Tank now because of the accusations and what he, put himself through. And rightfully so. I don't discredit no man that says, hey, I want Tank to get his ass beat. I'm rooting for Ryan Garcia. If that fight happens, I can see why. Because if it comes out to be true, then hey, there you have it. Then you justified of what you said, Timothy Bradley. But sometimes you got to hold off until you find out the particulars and see if it's really true, because there's a lot of people out there that's trying to extort these athletes. And another thing, a lot of people be bashing Errol Spence about his lifestyle outside of boxing. Why does he keep putting himself in these situations? But I look at it like this with Errol Spence. Yeah, he had a horrific car crash. He bounced back. God blessed him. God saw it fit for him to continue with a purpose. And he did that. Now, just about 2 months ago, he was in another car accident. And people always say, well, Earl, why don't you get a driver? Man, accidents can happen to anybody if you have a driver or not. Earl, why don't you just stay home? A lot of boxers, after their fights, man, they live a different lifestyle. They live a dangerous lifestyle. They out there in the public with no security, not trying to be uppity or anything like that. Look at your boy Adrian Broner. Look at the lifestyle he lived outside of boxing that caused his downfall. Now he's getting another opportunity to resurrect his career and, get financial stability. And the great one, Floyd Money Mayweather, always, took care of his body. He didn't do no drinking. All his parties was at his mansion. He's supplying the alcohol, but he's not doing no drinking. He's having fun, but he's inside of his own home, man. He's not going out partying, drinking, and things like that. A lot of boxers now these days, they do a lot of partying, a lot of drinking, and a lot of it has caught up to a lot of people. And we've seen that with Adrian Broner, man. His lifestyle has hit a downward spiral where he wanted to be a street thug. He wanted to go on IG Live talking all this stuff, guns and all this stuff. You're a professional boxer. You had a lot of people looking up to you, and you let them down, in and out of jail, things that he's done, assault charges, putting his hands on women. But nobody never gave him the backlash like, they giving Tank. But they still rooted for Adrian Broner. So, like I said, without knowing the particulars, I can't judge it because I wasn't there. until I see a videotape or, when things happen like that, normally people have it on video. People have it on their camera phones. People post a link. Oh, look what Tank did. Look, Tank put his hand. We ain't seen nothing like that. But all these other athletes that put their hands on women, we got video evidence of that. Look what happened to Ray Rice. We had video evidence of that. Kareem Hunt, we had video evidence of that. That's what I'm saying. All these video cameras and the way social media is set up, World Star is set up, TMZ is set up. Why come we don't have that video footage of Gervonta Davis putting his hands on that young lady? That's all I'm saying. I'm not judging nobody, but until the particulars come out, then that's how we got to treat that. But a lot of these boxers, man, they live a different lifestyle outside of the ring, man, and some of it will come back and haunt you. But unfortunately, the lifestyle that Errol Spence is living and people complaining about it, it hasn't done nothing to him when he gets in that boxing ring because he's 100% focused, man. He knows how to turn it on and knows how to turn it off. And Errol Spence has displayed that through all the stuff that you see in social media. Earl out there drinking, slurring. After some fights, he blowing up and he got to get his weight back down in training camp. But once he gets into training camp, he's focused. So it hasn't, affected his career so far. Hopefully going forward, if we get the big fight between him and Bud Crawford. If we don't, Earl said he's going up to 154. And like I said, Earl made it abundantly clear that he does not want to fight Keith Thurman. Now, Raul Solomon is trying to make that fight happen. Earl ain't having it. Earl does not want to fight Keith Thurman. If he got to vacate his belts and move up, that's what Earl's going to do. But yeah, so everybody that's a boxing fan and a boxing purist, man, you guys just got to understand, man, we don't know the business of it. We don't know the business side of boxing because we're not in the negotiations. Yeah, we want to see these fighters fight each other, but we don't know what the negotiations look like. So y'all guys just gotta, be patient, man. We all want the big fights. We all want to see the big fights, man. But hey, it's not happening right now. So we just got to be respectful and patient of the fights that we're getting. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of fights out there that Shakur Stevenson should get, but he's not getting them. It's not because these guys are ducking one another. It's what the negotiations state. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see how all this unfolds, man. But hopefully we'll get that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis fight. We're gonna see what Oscar De La Hoya is talking about on his contract. If he don't get it by Monday, that's the deadline. He has no contract. But that goes to show you that these fighters, they talk a lot through social media and stuff. They want to fight, but I don't think their handlers want to fight. Just remember that. They want to fight, but I don't think their handlers want to fight. But you guys let me know what y'all think, man. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Appreciate everybody that's going to be tuning in. Appreciate everybody that's supporting the channel. But like I said, give this video a thumbs up so we can get in that YouTube algorithm, man. So this podcast can be seen, man. So these boxing episodes can keep rolling, man. It just helps the channel grow, man. So like I always say, man, I appreciate you guys' time. And once again, that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. And like I said, we're always going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.